Joining me on today's podcast to talk about some of the lessons he's learned from this past season is the head coach at Davidson, Scott Abell. Scott's now been named 2 years in a row the Pioneer Football League Coach of the Year. The team were champs this year and made the FCS playoffs. They're also a team that led the FCS on the ground here in back-to-back years. 3 times here in Coach's 4 seasons, they've been the best rushing team in the FCS, and they're also great on converting third down. They were number 1 in 2021 at 54.3%. So, Coach Abell, I'm really glad to have you back here on the podcast to talk some ball.
Oh, Keith, thanks for having me. I love being on, and certainly it's been an exciting year for our program, and I'm proud of our guys.
Coach, I love talking ball with coaches at this time of the year. It's that time where guys, it's still fresh on their mind, that last season and the things they've learned from it and the approach maybe that they'll take moving forward. And I know for you, you've faced some change year to year here and brought up an interesting stat to me that you've had a quarterback change 6 years in a row, yet you've used the same offense. And I think it's interesting in particular because you guys are an option offense, and that does require a certain skill set. But to hear that you guys look at it the same way, you know, a spread team might, that we need to build this around the quarterback's ability and modify things here and there to fit it. So I'd love to hear about how that's worked out for you and how you guys have been able to maintain that consistency, yet at the same time have somebody different leading your offense.
Well, that's a great question, something I love to talk about. And I'll make a quick correction. We haven't changed quarterbacks 6 straight years. What we've done, Keith, is so I was just looking back. I think it's important to reflect, and so you can make sure that you're making notes on what you've learned, how you've grown, some consistencies. And what I've learned is, you know, in these last 11 years of coaching at the college level and coordinating offense at the same time, you know, I'm the head coach and offense coordinator here. You know, we've been fortunate enough to win and be a part of 6 conference championships and done it with 6 different quarterbacks over those times, right? And I think that's a very unique stat. And you know, so I kind of peel back the layers to look at exactly what did that look like. And I think the first thing that we learned was exactly what you said there, that we're really going to build around our quarterback inside our gun triple option. You know, I think every year the offense takes a little different personality according to who's running it. And, you know, we are a program that's recruiting quarterbacks. We're not recruiting, you know, your traditional option kid to play quarterback. We're recruiting quarterbacks that are coming out of spread systems out of high school, read zone systems, but have the skill set to run our offense. And I think that's the key, right? And, you know, what it told me, though, is that our foundation of who we are offensively, it's good. It's solid. You know, it's concrete, you know, because you can't be that successful offensively year in, year out. You can't win with that many different quarterbacks and win championships, that many different looks without foundationally being really good offensively. And offensively, our foundation is, hey, we're going to run the football. We're going to run triple option out of the gun, but we're also going to be a little more creative in our passing game, our play action game, and some of the wrinkles around the option game to fit our quarterback strength that may be leading us that year.
When you look at that, Coach, and you start to figure out that process, what does it look like at the beginning when you say, okay, this is the guy who left, and what we were with him, here's probably where we're going? Because I think some of it is, you know, maybe you don't have all that experience with that guy on the field. You don't quite know, but you see some things in him. So how does that process start for you, and what do you start to look at to build that offensive menu for the next year?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first thing is you kind of lean on whatever film you might have on your up-and-coming quarterback, right? So, you know, for us, Louis Cosimo ended up being our starting quarterback this fall, first-year starter for us, and he had the opportunity to play in some games in the past, these past couple of years for us, and so we watched some of that film, what he did well, right? We went back and watched some of his spring film, and then what did he do well in some compete periods, right? We all have compete periods throughout the year where it's third third and long, or you're running an option period and a compete period. Where were his strengths during those periods, and what made sense inside our offense? Excuse me. At the same time, I find myself always going back and watching their high school tape, right? What did they do well over and over? And so, prime example, in the spring, we won our conference championship for the first time, and Tyler Phelps, who was a multi-year starter for us, had a great career. You watch that offense, and it was probably a little more downhill driven in our option game, okay? Meaning our midline option was really good. And Tyler was a big kid, big physical kid. He'd get his shoulders downhill, and that was a problem for people, okay? And passing game, really quick delivery, had great feet, and we built a really great quick game package around him, okay? So here we go, fast forward to the fall, and what we began to notice is that we probably wouldn't be quite as dynamic in our midline option this fall because Lewis not quite built the same way. He's not quite as big. He's a little quicker, a little bigger burst getting on the edge. And so really kind of leaned on our outside triple this year because we thought he could threaten the perimeter. And we were right. And that it took him a game or two to get comfortable doing that. But once he got comfortable, he was certainly a handful in our triple option on the perimeter. And he's got a great big arm. And so how could we build some downfield play action pass, right? And because that's what he was comfortable doing in high school. When you watch his high school film, threw the ball really well downfield, good play action. And so we built some play action that really fit him, and that paid off for us as well. But what we also noticed was the foundation of the offense, right? We're an option-based offense, and that didn't change. It's just what option is going to be best to us that year. And then in the spring, it was our midline option. In the fall, it was our true triple, and then we built, complementary plays off of that.
When you're looking at that base play and talking about how you looked at midline for one player and that's what fit him best, and you looked at the outside triple for the other, I think that starting point play is so important to really establish and understand that this is going to be where our offense starts, and we can hang our hat on this because I think then other things start to build around it. Your answers then come from, okay, the other team knows we're going to go here first too, that this is what we want to do. Here's the things they can do to stop it. Here's the things we're going to do as complements, as constraints, as counters. I've talked to numerous coaches about that. I think Noel Mazzoni and I were talking about it a few weeks ago, and I had mentioned for us one year, and this is when I was coaching the high school level, we had this running back who was just incredible on our stretch play and averaged like 10.7 yards per carry on it, was the leading rusher in Ohio. And then we had a sophomore who followed him, but he was more of our inside zone runner. So it kind of, we were still running stretch, we were still running inside zone, but now our approach changed a little bit more, where the thought was, okay, we're going to start with this, we're going to use the inside zone. When they're over pursuing, you get it right up inside of them. And so things kind of get tweaked. And how do you start to mold the rest of the package then around that starting point play?
Well, you touched on some of that right there. First you got to identify, where you're going to hang your hat, right? And everybody knows we're going to run option football, and there's always variations. So, but what option play is really going to be your bread and butter? And once that's established, that offensive season, then you for me, I'm approaching year 30 almost in coaching football. I'm 52, so I got some good years left. But I've been doing this long enough to know kind of the complementary plays once we establish what we're going to be really good at. So when you run, when you're really good at your triple and you got your slot coming in motion, safeties are going to roll. They're going to be flying. And that's going to open up the middle of the field on passing attack. It really is. And we had some really nice play actions that help us. And but I always believe this. I think you always need an answer before you have to use it, right? So we're always looking in the off season at our personnel, at our roster, and then at our scheme and saying, okay, if we think this is the direction this offense is going to go, what's the counter punch, right? What's our counter run game? What is our play action game? Okay. Then what is our third down philosophy with this group? Because I do believe it's so important that you get ahead of it, that you find the answers before their problems.
Definitely. When you're then packaging that, you're putting together your installs and jump ahead. You've gone through spring, you've learned more about yourselves. What do you look at in terms of, we're going to start working this now? We might not need it till the end of the year, but how do you determine, I guess, what you're going to need in amount of reps to get things ready? Because it is about focusing. We're all limited by time. We have the certain amount of reps we can get in a practice, and that's it. So what do you feel is the number you look to be at in working a play? Maybe that's in a particular week, but also in getting it ready for something down the line. What does it look like as you put that season together?
Well, when we start the map, we call it mapping out the install, right? We're going to build those complementary plays in throughout camp. Okay, so you have your complementary play to our triple option, which is really where everything starts with us, right? And the complementary plays, our counter option off of that, our play action off of that, and those are going to go in at camp, right? And then we install our midline option, right? And what are the complementary play actions? What's the complementary counter run game to that, right? We have our jet sweep package. What's your counter punch to that? So as the base play goes in, the counter goes in with it, the counter punch, the play action, and then as you begin to really get on the field, you begin to play, you begin to get some live reps, all that kind of unfolds for itself, right? You begin to see, okay, we got a shot to be really dynamic at this, and so let's spend a little more rep time on the counter punches for this base play, and that's what we did this year, and that's what we've done when you really reflect. I remember in 2012. When I was the head coach at Washington Lee, we won a conference championship, and we were good at speed option, and so we were really good at speed option. We had a quarterback, Nick Lombardo, who could run, and how did you build off of that, right? How do you build some simple pass concepts that look like sprint out? I mean, that look like speed option, but maybe sprint out. What's your counter punch to those plays? Fast forward this year, we're really good at triple. What's the counter punches? Last spring, it was midline. But when we start our season, those are all base concept option plays for us, right? Our triple, our midline, our speed option, our jet sweep, they're all going in. And then as the camp goes on, we're going to get the counter punch to that in as well. And then as we get into the season, the reps determine themselves, right? If we're going to be better at triple, then we know the counter option play that goes with that needs to get a few more reps. And then when it's time to use it, we're going to be ready. And, the example this year, we didn't have to run a ton of our counter option, just didn't need it. And we got to a really big game against a conference foe. And, it became a huge play for us in the game, right? They were just flying to our triple. And first time we pivoted back out on that, our quarterback took and got downhill and busted a long play, and then he pitched off it the next time. And so you're not sure when you're going to call upon it, but you get it reps throughout the season regularly, so you're ready for it. And that's all determined off what you're good at in your base foundation.
Now, you told me that this year was a little bit different, where last year you guys were a little bit more grinded out and methodical down the field, that this year you had more explosive plays. And we know in looking at the statistics, I mean, an explosive play is important in any single drive and increases the chances of scoring drastically as you add, 2 or even 3 explosives to a drive. It's going to be huge. So what did you feel was that change for you? Was it something you necessarily created? Was it a product of maybe going to, outside triple a little bit more? What created those opportunities for you?
Yeah, well, I think it's a couple of things. I think when you're able to run your base triple, your outside triple well, that's going to create more explosive plays. Okay. Now, what was the reasoning that we ran it better this year or this fall compared to the spring? And that's twofold. We talk about Lewis's ability to get on the edge a little quicker, but also, our slots from the spring to the fall, we weren't real healthy all spring. It was a mass unit for that position group, and we were young. Fast forward 6 months we're playing the season, they're veteran, they're healthier, and that position room really stretched the field with their speed. And Lewis did a great job of really distributing the football when he had to. And so I think the answers there are really twofold. I think having a more veteran group around your quarterback that's ready to hit those big plays, and then having a quarterback maybe whose skill set is set up more for that perimeter option. I think it's twofold. But, I do think a lot of it had to do with the experience that our guys got in the spring that were young and some were injured. Fast forward to them being healthy, them being more veteran around your quarterback and being able to grow that around him.
The last time we talked, you guys were also very good at third down, and that's true this year. In your 4 seasons there, 2 times you've led the country in third down conversions. For you, is there a formula to that? Is it something the way you practice? Is it a product of how you run your offense that you don't end up in third and long often? Or what things do you feel contribute to that you're able to do this on a consistent basis? Because I watch statistics all the time and see who the leaders are, and there's usually a lot of fluctuation in third down conversion percentages year to year. You don't usually see a team that just stays consistently at the top. It's usually a little bit of a rise and fall. It might not be huge, but when you look statistically where they finish in the country, you don't see that often where, number one team twice in 4 seasons. So for you, what's the key to being able to convert on third down?
Well, I think some of it's a product of our offensive scheme. We're on pace a lot, right? And every offensive coach would tell you that's the key to being a good third down team is you stay on pace, right? You're ahead of the sticks. First down,
mm-hmm.
you're getting 4 or 6 yards. Second down, you're getting 4 to 6 yards. You're in third and short a lot. So I think that is something that has really helped us. But I also think, I talk about, I'm an option coach. There's no doubt about it. But I am a little different because I work primarily out of the gun. Right. And so I think that's given us some flexibility over the years to really fine-tune this offense so that we are certainly a really developed passing attack. We don't throw it 30 times a game, right? We're going to throw it 15 to 20, but we're better than the average option team when it comes to throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think we work on that at practice, right? We're not running 1,000 offensive plays, right? I mean, our triple option is our triple option. Our midline option is our midline option, right? Our speed option is our speed option, and those are great to us, our jet sweep. And so the extra time that we have at practice, and we don't have long practices at all. I mean, we're an hour and 50-minute operation at practice. But we're doing Pascal every day. We are working on, the third and threes take care of themselves. I really believe that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're third and 3. I think we're going to get a first down 90% of the time. Now, the third and 6 and third and 7s, when you get behind, how do you get yourself out of that? And I think that is what we have really developed a great mentality for. And I give it credit to our team, right? They have a mentality that we're going to get that first down, right? They never think we're not going to get it. And a lot of that comes to, hey, we're able to make those throws. We're able to get ourselves out of some holes with some of our counter plays that I think give us that opportunity to be the best third down team in the country. I mean, the 2 years we weren't first, I think we were third one year and we were second one year.
Mm-hmm.
So in our last 4 years, we've been, I think, in the top 3 every year in third down percentage. And the last piece of that is we don't focus on really getting the first down. We don't focus on the sticks. Instead, we focus on let's execute the play,
mm-hmm.
right? The first down, the outcome is going to take care of itself. And so just focus on the play. Don't focus on I've got to get 6 yards here. I got to get 3 yards here. Let's execute the play that's called, and the outcome will take care of itself. And our guys buy into that, right? They really do. And we talk about it all the time. We focus on that, and I think that pays off in those moments.
Coach, I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your hour and 50-minute practice and just how does that break down? I know that's a challenge, and you talk to some people and they'll tell you, oh, we run a 90-minute practice, but then they'll talk about how their walkthrough is not part of it, how they do pre-practice, they do post-practice, and it ends up being 2.5 hours, right? So
Yeah.
how are you able to get everything done there in the 150, and how does that break down for you?
Sure, it's a great question. Well, I'll start by saying, here at Davidson, right, extremely challenging academic rigor. Okay, and we recruit some of the top scholar athletes around the country, and we're flooded with pre-med majors, pre-law majors, engineers, all across our roster, and those guys are doing big things off the field. So, we believe it's really important to be efficient with their time, so they make sure they can get that work done off the field. So that makes them a better football player too, right? It's a win-win for everybody. And so, this is something that I learned and worked really hard at my time at WNL, which is a really high academic rigor as well at the Division III level, that how can we be the most efficient team possible, right? So that hour and 50 minutes, that includes from the time we start until we're done, right? That includes any walkthroughs, that includes our stretch. So we're getting it all done in an hour and 50. So for us to break down, I can regurgitate it like, I've done it so many times. It's about a 7-minute stretch routine that will lead us right to what we call a pre-practice, or what I used to call pre-practice, but now it's just a practice skill session. So for us, our skill sessions, when they break from stretch, our punters, our long snappers, our holders, our returners, they're working those skills, right? Those very specific skills that maybe aren't a part of their everyday positional work, right? And they're off doing that for a 5-minute period. And those guys who aren't involved in that now are into what we call an extended stretch teach period with their position coaches. Okay? Some of those coaches may use that for a quick walkthrough. Some of them may use it for our running backs and our centers and our quarterbacks every day during that period. We'll do a snap mesh period. Mm-hmm. So every day during that 5-minute period, our centers are snapping to our quarterbacks, and our quarterbacks are catching the shotgun snap and getting a mesh for our read period. And that's all they're doing for 5 minutes, just working that footwork, working that mesh. So it is like clockwork. And, our wide receiver coach is doing hand drills. Our linebacker coach is the kids who aren't working a special team specific thing is they're doing a block destruction on a sled. And so everybody's doing something very specific for that 5 minutes. And then we break out to Indy, right? So we're roughly 10 minutes into practice now. Our guys are at Indy. Now that's learning, that's install, that's rep period. That will lead to a unit run through, not a walkthrough, because this time we're loose. We believe that you can get a lot done without hitting. So both sides will work on cans. So for me as an offensive coach, we'll set up 11 trash cans in a 3-4 front. We'll set up 11 trash cans in a 4-3 front. And we are just going to spend a 10-minute run-through period. It's just assignment-based, mm-hmm. right? It's assignment-based. And then, we'll break out to a quick special period, and then there's a 10-minute scale built in there. On Tuesdays, there's a 10-minute inside built in. And then we'll wrap up with team periods, but they're team service periods. And so for us, because we're not your traditional offense, right? I think it's good for our defense to go against us because we have some read zone principles, right? But right. They don't need to defend option every day. So our service periods are built where we'll have a service offense given the look for the week for our defense. At the same time, there's a service defense given a look for our offense on different ends of the field. And then we have another short special team period. And then we come back and finish up with everyone together. And some of those periods, there may be some good on good, some third down. Sometimes it's more service work. And then we're out of there in an hour and 50. And it's like clockwork. Our guys get used to it. And I would tell you, as we get further on the season, that hour and 50 goes to an hour and 40. Mm-hmm. Now, during camp, it's different, right? That's the schedule once we start classes. During camp, we'll probably be 2 to 2:20, 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Coach, when you look at, especially right now, with all the challenges we have, all the limitations, all the different things, and it varies around the country, it varies from campus to campus, so many things have changed the dynamics of how we build a team, whatever the restrictions might be. So for you, looking at it holistically, what are some of the things you look back at this year in the last couple of years that that you've learned from those seasons, and what's the approach moving forward to maintain that strong culture that's going to help you win more championships?
Yeah, that's a $10 million question, isn't it? I think the first thing I learned is I don't think there's any obstacles that you can't overcome, right, if you have the right culture, okay? And that I think that what the last 2 years have taught us is that, right? And I think the key to that is understanding that everyone has challenges, everyone has obstacles. It's those people that decide, hey, I'm going to turn this obstacle into an opportunity. And then how do you do that? And that's what we have focused on nonstop for the last year and a half, 2 years, as things have changed, right? And we've been asked to do things in a different way. You know, I think you and I talked about we lifted outside for an entire year, right? 38 degrees, raining, we're outside under tents. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself. It's easy to say, well, I don't understand why we're doing this. But we wouldn't allow ourselves that. Instead, we talked daily. Okay, hey, what an opportunity we have today to get better. Not focusing on the obstacle, but focusing on the opportunity. And I'm so proud of our program. I'm proud of our assistant coaches and their buy-in to that, and then them turning that into our culture. It really, you know, we did a really nice job of building culture when we arrived here because the program had none, right? You know, year one, you know, the program hadn't won in so long, and the guys bought into who we were, and that culture is about, hey, let's trust each other. Let's have faith in what we're doing and put your best foot forward, and good things will happen. And they trusted that. But as obstacles came on with the pandemic and everything else that we faced, you know, we've really kind of hung our hat on, hey, we're going to look at the opportunity we get today. We're going to look at what we get to do, not what we have to do. And our guys all the time talk about that. And I think when you look at all of FCS football, right, and you look at, we all played in the spring, we turned around 3 months later and we're doing it again. Okay. I don't think there's many teams out there that can say they won their league both times. I haven't done the math. I really don't know.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Right. Now, there were 10 of us that went to the playoffs both times. Okay. But how many of us won our league both in the spring and in the fall? And I think that takes a ton of resiliency. I think that takes a ton of mental toughness. And I think that is what our culture built when we started saying, hey, this is our opportunity to get better today. Not, hey, I'm lifting in 38 degrees outside, or, hey, we have to practice in pods of 10. It's something that I truly believe in. I think it's the best way that you can approach each day as a person, whether you're a father or a husband. Yeah, well, look what I get to do today, right? So we talk about that a lot in our program, but when things got tough, we just felt the need, hey, this is really meaningful right now. And our guys bought into that.
Yeah, I think more than ever, we're seeing that the lessons we teach as a coach, as especially in terms of facing adversity, I mean, those are coming into play way more often now, right? It's just look at every single level and what's happening. And I was talking to coaches from Alaska, the state champions, and you know, they mentioned the same thing, that the preparation, they'll have somebody all week, and all of a sudden, day before the game, they lose 2 offensive linemen, right? Now things are distinctly different. And it really forces a team to build that culture that's going to handle that. Because if you're not dealing with that constantly and don't understand that adversity is going to hit us at any time, even when we don't expect it. I mean, right now with how things are, so much different than a few years ago, where, yeah, you might get an injury here or there. You put a Band-Aid on it for a game, slide someone else in, figure out the plan. And now it's like, it could happen day before a game, right? It could happen hours before the game. You don't even know. So I think it elevates the need for the training and culture and the leadership of your team.
It does. And you know, and where, you know, I give our leaders on our team, our captains, a ton of credit, and I give our assistant coaches, and, you know, what we challenged them with was, hey, we're going to model this, right? You know, you got to have a core group at the top that's going to model, right? You know, every team has leaders, and then people fall in line and follow them. And then, you know, it's up to us, as if you sit at the top of the leadership board, to really establish what you want that to look like and model that. And our coaches did that, and our captains did that. And, you know, the other thing is that we made sure our guys knew that we would have a solution to the next obstacle, that hey, there's going to be another obstacle, right? We're going to show up one day and somebody's going to test positive, and we're not going to be able to practice, or, we may not have, our starting lineman for this game. We may be missing a starting safety, but here's the solution. Here's the answer, and that builds confidence, right? When you're preparing, kind of like I said with the offense, right? That earlier I said you should always have an answer before it's a problem. Right. Well, the program's no different, right? And that's hard that's so hard in this era to have foresight to say, okay, what are those obstacles that are coming at us? How can we get ahead of them? But as much as you can do that, that gives your program, that gives your kids, your staff a lot of confidence, because it's like, okay, yeah, coach has thought about this. He's already talked about this. So he obviously thinks there's a good answer. Or, hey, I've heard our captains talk about this. I hear seniors talking about it. And I think that's something that our coaches, our captains, our upperclassmen have done a really nice job with.
Well, Coach, it was fun to follow you this year, and certainly fun to catch up here and see what you learned here from the season. For our listeners, what's the best way to connect with you if they're looking to learn a little bit more about your offense or talk a little ball?
Yeah, hey, listen, I would love to connect with people who want to talk football out there. I love it. And the best way to reach me is at my Davidson football email address. And, that is scabel@davidson.edu. Shoot me an email, contact us. All that's on our website also. So you can go to our Davidson football website, pull up my contact information, reach out to me, and look forward to talking shop with people who are out there listening.
Coach, thanks again for spending the time. It was great to catch up with you, and look forward to seeing what you guys do in 2022.
Thanks, Keith, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.